Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in. At first I wasn't sure if I was gonna make a video process of what I'm gonna do, but so I've already started on this process, and I'll record it and I'll decide later on if I'm gonna post it on YouTube. You guys probably know that McFarlane has offered the 100th anniversary of Warner Brothers Batman collection, and I actually ordered it. Um, it almost has all of the Batman that we know of, except Adam West. Now, this is the NECA. This is a knockoff of the NECA 1966 Batman, and I was looking at the body type. It's 7 inch, and I looked at the body type of the McFarlane Flashpoint Superman, and I realized it's about the same proportions that I wanted for my 1966 Batman. And then as you can see, I already took this apart and I dremeled this off, and I think it will work. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to boil things apart, take it apart, and I'm going to paint this gray, and then I'll take this apart, and that's the process I'm going to record. So stay tuned. But I'm holding the camera right now, that's why it's moving and I can't show it to you. It seems like the head might be just a slight too small. I'm not sure yet. I won't be sure until I actually glue it on or whatever. So we'll see, because it looks like the body proportion seems just about right. As you can see, that's foot to foot as a Super Sun. And height-wise, seems it's comparable. Width-wise, it's wider on the shoulders here, but this should be able to fit there. I'll be able to use the hands for this one. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with the feet, whether I'm going to cut this off and put it in this one or not. But that's the process we're going to go through on this video. So I hope you stick around and see how it's going to turn out. Bye. Okay, I've gone and heated it up and started pulling things apart. I probably didn't need to go as pulled out the ankles or anything like that, but while it was there, I didn't even know what I could pull. I just started pulling while it was still warm. So I've already washed it with soap as well, just to make sure there's no grease or anything in the plastics. I also previously bought this painting clip kit. I figured since I might be doing a lot of painting and all that stuff, so I figured I might as well do it the proper way and start using these clips. So it's just a matter of just clipping it like that. I've bent the legs that way. These parts are going to be covered with the paint. I'm not going to put on the rubber tips for the clips because I actually do want a strong grip. I'm just basically just clipping it on. The arms, I'm gonna go ahead and start painting it before I start cutting into it. I feel like that's probably gonna be giving me a better result. Once it's painted, then I'll start modifying it. But yeah, so while I was testing this out here, obviously I'm not gonna paint this. This is the way it should be. I noticed this is loose, so what I did was I cut the skin off of the NECA one. I was gonna wrap it in this one. I was gonna use it to wrap it so that it's a tighter, to have that. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna paint it first because it's ending up that this is too big and it's not gonna wrap around completely. See? So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet. But when I test fitted it with the legs, it actually pulled it this far, and as you can see, that doesn't look too bad over here. So I'm gonna paint it first and see how the legs and the body torso looks the way it is. If it doesn't work, because technically the Superman body is supposed to be like that. If it doesn't work, then I'll figure something out. So we'll discover that together, because I obviously don't know how it's gonna look. Okay, I'm back. So what I've done is I've soaked it. I've taken it apart, as you saw from my first video. I painted it with a gray primer. I know this is too dark. I'll probably try to dry brush it with a lighter gray when I've started to put things together. I did it off camera because I wanted to see first if it still is viable in terms of proportions as shown previously. This was too loose, but once I connected this leg to the inside of the mid torso, it seemed to compress it. It's still kind of loose, but you really don't see it as much anymore, and you still have the movement. Now, the reason I used to customize and paint figures before, but I got discouraged by the fact that because the paint would stick because where the articulation is, and obviously because the spaces between these joints are so small that once you start putting in layers of paint, you start getting paint rubs. That was very, very discouraging for me, so I stopped doing that. But I've seen other people customize and paint their stuff, and it seems to work for them, and I don't know what they're doing. So now that I'm back on it, I'm seeing these paint rubs again, and I'm very frustrated by the fact that it's there. And especially this one, the ball joints, or the shoulder ball joints over here, will stick. What I've done temporarily, and I did it after this happened, was to simply apply a thin layer of petroleum jelly. Now, the problem is, and immediately right after, this was sticking, this inner joint was sticking, and immediately after applying the petroleum jelly, you can see it's not sticking. The reason why it's not sticking is because the gel is providing an oily surface for the paint to not adhere to the inner paint of the swell of the shoulder. The problem is, if I'm gonna apply paint over it again, or any kind of glue, it won't stick because of that oil. So I'm hoping that after a while, before I start to apply a secondary layer of paint, or another layer of paint on top of this one, or any kind of glue, if I put it under boiling water or lukewarm or hot water, and I wash it and scrub it again, it will remove that oily surface, so I can apply paint on top of it again. Is it gonna work? I have no idea. Other customizers would know more than I am. But even this one, that used to be like sticking. Now it's like really loose where I put the oil again. So maybe what I'll do is, once I'm ready to start applying more paint on top of it, I'll dunk it in warm water again, or warm to hot water again. Wash off the oil, any oil that's in there, and then put the paint application that I need to dry brush on. And then once that's dry, if it sticks, same thing with the glue, if it sticks, then I'll put on another layer of petroleum jelly after the finished product, just so I can retain the movement that I want. But see how this one is? See, I mean, like that's sticky. That's just the surface of the paint. It's just there's not a lot of give, so it's just scratching, you know. So we'll see what happens. You guys will discover as I am. But anyway, so the next let me see. This is the Nightfall Batman. This is probably like I didn't review it, but this is probably the best Batman proportioned McFarlane figure out there. I love this thing. But anyway, going back to this one, it seems to work. As you can see, I'm basically doing comparisons from knee joint to the cross joint to the shoulder. I'm not comparing these because obviously with Adam West Batman, this trunks were always kind of like the grandpa trunks. It's always pushed up anyway. So I think proportionally from bottom to top it will work. So now, thinking it's gonna work. The first problem I have is when I'm putting this on, the original 19 NECA Batman has this, and I need that, which I don't have it here. What I'm thinking of doing is I'm gonna cut this off. I'm gonna put it inside this one, and I'll glue this one to this one. I'll only glue this. I may not even need to glue, and then I'll probably put a dab of glue here and here. The reason I don't want to glue the whole thing here because I think I want to do the cloth cape inside this, and I need it to be movable. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to look at some reference pictures. If I can put the cloth cape outside, then I won't have to deal with worrying about where I put the glue in here. But anyway, I'm gonna cut this. I'm gonna put inside here. I'm gonna glue that. That will provide me with the post for this one. But it should look like this. I think that looks pretty good. And this width, this wider shoulders, I think that will all disappear once you have the cape. So the kind of saw I use, it depends on whether it depends on how much damage I want from the plastic. What I mean is I can either use a blade, but you don't want to use a blade for something like this. This is hard plastic, so you're gonna have a chance of hurting yourself. Or I can use a Dremel with the saw, but when you do that, the damage you'll cause to this kind of plastic, you're probably gonna lose you're probably gonna lose like this much plastic, or if not like this much plastic. Like you'll lose, you're gonna retain this part and then that part, and you'll lose this much in between. If you use this one, the damage in between is gonna be that thin. And then if there's other blades here that's even thinner, so it'll be almost like a pencil mark of plastic that you lose. So at this point, even though this takes longer, I'm just gonna use this one, and just be patient. So if you want to know how thin this is, the damage that you've just done to the figure is that thin. Look at that. Why does this matter? Well, certain things you need to cut, and you want to reattach it, and you want the damage that you've done to be almost invisible, so you don't have to do it's almost like a break, that's how clean a saw cut from. This is a jewelry saw blade. Look at how thin that cut is. But in some cuts you don't really care, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this and I forgot the orientation. So once I glue that, I'll have a post over here for my Batman head. Okay, I've gone ahead and glued that, and I did check. West's Batman has his cape on the outside of this one, so I shouldn't have any problems putting this on here. Okay, I've gone ahead and tried to remove any kind of oil that I might have been remaining in my hands and the figure by soaking it in warm water, and I used the dish detergent that's specifically for removing any kind of oil or grease in the pan. That I think that works the best, and as you can see, it's actually already sticking. It's not as anyway. So while that's drying, I'm gonna work on the hands. I've warmed it and also pulled off these joints because I might be able to use those on other future products or replacing the ones that have the ugly joints from McFarlane. And now I'm gonna try to figure out exactly how much I want to remove from this one. You might have seen how I do things with my Michael Keaton custom in order to supplant these new joints, and I'm trying to just get a nice feeling because this is almost just at the right length, and which is going to be a problem because obviously there's that socket in there, and I need let's see. When you're using stuff like this, it's better to shave off a little bit at a time than shaving off a whole lot of stuff at a time, because once you've taken it out, you can't put it back in, right? So it's better to be patient and do it slowly than doing a lot and regretting the fact that you've taken too much already. And I would look at the circumference of this one just to see if it's actually in a circular shape. Then I would test it out. The tighter the better, because that's basically what's going to hold it, as you can see. this is actually pretty close to what I want. Look at that. I still feel like this is too long. This should be like that, but alright, so I've glued this and see what happens. Oh, so there's the head on. Turns. Alright, so Now the next question is the boots. How do I want to do the boots? Two ways. I could either cut this and create a similar cut for this one and do the peg system how I did this one, and just the problem is the thinness of this boot compared to the calf size of this figure. There's no way that's going to look correctly. So now I'm left with using the original feet that came with this one and sculpting this part out of either of some sort of clay or plumber's putty, which I've never been really that good at in terms of working it. I need to learn that material more, but in the meantime, that's how it is looking. I think that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. So, there he is. I put his feet on again. That's basically the size compared to the McFarlane Batman over here. I'm gonna upload this video now, because if I were to wait until I finally finish it off, and I'll have to do that a second part, because it's gonna be a while, because I don't have the plumber's putty to this one. I think I do, but it's somewhere on my tools that I have to look for. Then I'm gonna once I do it, I think it's gonna be easy enough. And then I'm gonna do repaint or dry brush a lighter shade of gray, which is probably gonna be like this. And then I'll put on the insignia, the symbol, and then the cape. The cape I'm using, I think, is the original one. So that's gonna have to be another part, so that way you guys can see what I've done so far, and we'll check it out from there. See you guys later. Bye.